If you enjoy wandering the dilapidated streets of a post-pandemic city, shooting anything that moves from random thugs to stray dogs, searching for loot and solving everyone's problems, then The Division 2 might be right up your alley. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is the latest game from Ubisoft where you play as a customizable, unnamed, mute hero that saves the citizens of Washington, D.C. from evil thugs and gangs while searching for answers to the game's story, which I won't spoil. The game launches with tons of gameplay content, including a deep solo or co-op campaign, tons of side missions, and a rage-inducing PvE, PvP mode better known as the Dark Zone. All of this and the promise of future DLC will surely keep avid Division agents engaged in the Division 2 for dozens and dozens of hours. Should you invest all this time alone or with other real-world Division agents? The short answer is yes, but there are some caveats. Those who played the first Division will feel right at home with the Division 2. Division 2 doesn't do anything drastically different from the first game. Of course, there is the new setting of Washington, D.C. and some minor upgrades to gunplay and traversal, but it all feels extremely familiar, for better or for worse. So if you didn't like the Division 1, there's probably no chance in hell you'll like the Division 2. Like the Division 1, the Division 2 sets itself apart from most RPG shooters out there in that the game leans toward realism, rather than sci-fi and fantastical. There are no crazy, gigantic, three-eyed, 18-armed monsters or some super futuristic, laser gravity-defying alien weapons. Everything is grounded close to reality, well, sort of close. This means that instead of fighting aliens with crazy weapons, you fight humans with some modern weapons and some futuristic but believable tech. In an RPG-style game where everything and every person has stats and levels, this can be a problem when the game aims for realism. A single bullet can kill, but in the Division 2, enemies may take tens or hundreds of rounds to take them down. This is all dependent on your character's current level and perks, weapon level and stats, the enemy's current level and stats, as well as any armor they may be wearing. Firing 100 or so rounds into an enemy definitely feels strange at first, but after a short time in the Division 2's world, it begins to feel natural. Well, sort of. The world of the Division 2, which is a dilapidated, beautifully trashed rendition of Washington, D.C., is broken into sections. Each section corresponds with enemy levels. Lower level enemies will take control of the area around the White House, while higher level enemies might be around the Washington Monument. As long as you play the game smart, progressively making your way through the areas close to your current level, the bullet sponginess is less noticeable. Venture off the beaten path and engage in a firefight with enemies a few levels above yours, and you'll have a hard time taking them down. Enemies that are way above your level, you won't even put a dent in them. This bullet sponginess of enemies is what will probably turn most players away from the Division 2 more than anything else. But if you can suspend disbelief, play the game as it's intended, the Division 2 offers an engrossing, engaging, and loot-searching experience that is top-notch. You begin the Division 2 like most games, as a crappy, low-level, no-name fighter that only becomes better with time and higher-tier gear and weapons. Everything in the Division 2 has stats. This could be your weapons, backpacks, holsters, and vests, just to name a few. You will collect new stuff by progressively playing through the game. Enemies will drop new gear and loot, and completing missions will net you the best stuff in most cases. You can also purchase gear from multiple vendors and sell the crap gear you're no longer using. If you want to survive, you're going to have to keep upgrading everything you have. Complementing your weapons and gear are perks and skills, both of which you will need to help you survive higher level firefights. Perks might net you more weapon slots or storage capacity, while skills might give you a turret or drone to deploy. Skills and perks will definitely help give you an edge in fights. The story behind the Division 2 has you combing the streets of DC, searching for intel, finding new tech, saving hostages, clearing enemy encampments, and much more. There's simply a ton to do. But it all revolves around shooting as many bad guys as possible. There's little to no stealth in the Division 2, and you can't click a button to crouch and sneak up on enemies, which I found odd initially. There is the ability to sneak up on enemies by simply avoiding their line of sight, but once you fire the first shot, all hell breaks loose. Everybody and their mother will now be focused on taking you out, with snipers shooting from afar and suicide thugs bum rushing you to crack you in the head with bats. It's all frantic fun. All of this can be completed alone or through co-op, which co-op seems the best way to play the Division 2. While the game can be completed alone, the firefights will be that much harder without some real-world help and friends to heal you when you get taken out by swarms of relentless bad guys. You don't need to play with only your friends in the Division 2, as the game gives the ability for anyone to drop in and out to other players' games. The system works well, but I found that when you do call for help from real-world players, it can take some time for them to accept the call and load into your game world, which may take a minute or so. By this time I found myself just respawning, rather than waiting for someone to jump in. I'm pretty impatient. The Dark Zone is the PvE, PvP sections of the Division 2. It's a dog-eat-dog world where trust rarely exists and you're always expecting other agents to turn on you. Good luck trying to survive if you enter the Dark Zone alone. You're gonna need help here. In the Dark Zone, which is unlocked through game progression, players can team up to take on difficult enemies and missions to acquire better gear. But in this zone, other real-world players can go rogue and steal your newly acquired awesome gear by taking you out. This makes the Dark Zone a tense, enthralling area, but can raise one's blood pressure to dangerous highs as you're always on edge waiting to be flanked by rogue agents. It's good fun, but definitely can be rage-inducing. Behind the Division 2 is a game that's impressive in all aspects, when it's working properly. The graphics, sound, map design, controls, loot system, and animations are all top-notch, but there are instances where textures and objects failed to load, sound cut out, and game stutter occurred. I even hit invisible walls where the game failed to load the area I was running to. Nothing game-breaking, but just minor annoyances. A major issue which occurred a dozen or so times is entering certain areas of the city where enemies haven't properly spawned yet. You'll be walking thinking it's all peaceful, taking in the sights, and begin taking fire from invisible forces, not knowing what's firing at you and where to fire back. If you can't run away or take cover fast enough, it's surely a death. So the Division 2 gets an 8.5 out of 10 and a buy now, unless you despise the first game. The Division 2 offers a deep single or co-op campaign, engaging and raging multiplayer mode, and tons of activities to complete. The gunplay combined with the cover system is a worthwhile experience regardless of the lack of stealth options. While missions can be straightforward all-out firefights, the set pieces help set them apart, and the overall digital world of Washington, D.C. is an interesting and beautiful place to explore, even if it is now a pandemic shithole. So remember, if you liked the review, be sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Till next time, keep on gaming.